Yazmine Laroche was appointed Deputy Minister Public Service Accessibility on August 7th, 2018. She was previously the Assistant Deputy Minister of Infrastructure and Communities. She began her public service career at Transport Canada and has held progressive leadership responsibilities in areas such as public policy, program design and delivery, communications, strategic planning, and corporate management. She has served in a number of federal departments, including Communications, Canadian Heritage, the Canadian Information Office, the Privy Council Office, and the Treasury Board Secretariat. Ms. Laroche is the Deputy Minister Champion for Federal Employees with Disabilities. She is also the Deputy Minister Champion for her alma mater, Carleton University, and is the past chair of the Board of Muscular Dystrophy Canada. Welcome, Ms. Laroche.
Good morning, everybody. Merci infiniment de m'avoir invité. Merci à Maureen de m'avoir invité à cet événement. It is such a pleasure to be here to speak with you today. This has been such an incredible year. When we talk about accessibility and inclusion in Canada, it's hard to believe how much has been accomplished in just 1 year. It was just in June of this year that the government tabled the Accessible Canada Act, and it's already in the Senate. And every time it moves through the House, it's with unanimous consent. That gives us a real feeling of momentum and opportunity, knowing that there are so many people who are bringing us along. And I think part of the testament to how far we've come is that I'm speaking to you in my capacity as Deputy Minister of Public Service Accessibility. The very fact that the government created this role tells us that the time for change is right here, and it's right now. And I think your conference is so perfectly timed to all of the great work that we're trying to do. This idea of a Canadian strategy for disability and work is so critical. And I think what you're trying to accomplish here is has so much in common with what we're trying to do in my office. You are trying to design a strategy to facilitate employment opportunities and outcomes for people with disability in this country. My office is charged with developing a strategy to make sure that the public service of Canada is the most accessible and inclusive in the world. And I'm delighted that yesterday we actually launched our own consultation process for all federal public servants to comment on what we're calling a straw model of a strategy of what an accessible and inclusive public service looks like. So I'm thrilled because we've got people from our team here, and we want to learn from your discussions and your experience in terms of how you're developing your own strategy. There's a lot of commonality, and I think at the heart of it is consultation and partnership. And I love the fact that that's embedded in the approach that you've taken in designing your strategy. It's not something concocted by a small group of people sitting in a room in isolation. It's premised on bringing the diversity of views and lived experience together to help make something that's meaningful. And we're hoping to do the same thing with our strategy. Our strategy has to be a little bit broader because it's going to cover all of the elements that are included in the legislation. So that's the built environment. Of course, it includes employment, information and communication technologies, the procurement of goods and services, program and service delivery to Canadians, transportation, and the seventh, as Minister Qualtrough pointed out to me yesterday, because the bill has been amended, and we're now including communications more generally as a pillar. In each of those areas, what we're hoping to do is show where the Government of Canada is today, where we think it should be in the years to come, and what actions we need to take to get us there. So let's take the employment pillar, for example. Thanks to new data from the Canadian Survey on Disability that was just released last week, We know that young people with disabilities face huge challenges in finding employment, and I'm sure you know this. If you consider that of 108,000 Canadian youth with disabilities aged 15 to 24, they were neither in school nor employed. Almost 84,000 of them are considered potential employees. So that's 77% of young people with disabilities in Canada who are ready, who are willing, who want to work. Those figures tell us a story, don't they? Especially with an aging workforce in this country, and we need to ensure that we are tapping the broadest range of talent. This is so important for us in the public service because, of course, we serve all Canadians, and all Canadians are diverse. They have different lived experience. They have different ways of thinking and problem solving. They look different. If our public service isn't representative of the people we're serving, how can we do a good job? And how can we do a good job if we're not tapping into this huge talent pool? We're the country's largest employer, and so we have to lead by example. And our goal is for us to be the gold standard for an accessible and inclusive workplace. It's a modest goal. We want to be the most accessible and inclusive public service in the world. I just came back from a week in the United Kingdom learning from their experience. And every time I meet people who are touted as kind of global leaders in this space, I actually come back to Canada feeling slightly reassured because they're doing a great job, there's no doubt about it, but I know we can do better because I think we have the right mindset in this country. We are less hierarchical, we are more open, we think more about diversity and inclusion. And I think when we put our minds to solving problems, I don't think anybody does it better than we do. One of the things that we're hoping to do in the federal public service is to actually hire 5,000 employees with disability by 2025. And we want that representation across all levels of government, not in silos, not in traditional ghettos where we find a lot of people with disability are currently, in the administrative, in the clerical ranks. We want more people in leadership positions who look like me or who don't look like me, who have visible or who have invisible disability, and who feel confident and comfortable in taking their place in the senior-most leadership positions of our public service. And we're doing it, we hope, in a way that is very similar to the way that you're doing. We know that the challenges of designing a strategy and an implementation plan depend on effective partnerships. We can't do it alone. We need to do it in consultation with subject matter experts from across the government, from other levels of government, from the private, the not-for-profit sectors, as well as union representatives and academic institutions. We know that we're all in this together, that we are actually learning together as we're doing this. And by doing that, and by working in collaboration, and by participating in forums such as this one, we know that we can close that gap in employment between Canadians with and without disabilities. It's a big gap. You know, we're talking 30% gap in employment right now. But conversations like this one and action plans coming out of your discussions here are going to help us close that gap. I've been telling other senior leaders in the federal public service to imagine a workplace where every federal public servant has everything they need to do their very best work, where they feel supported, where they feel included, they feel that they belong and valued and free to express their true selves without fear. I know that you have the same vision for all Canadians as we do for Canadian public servants. And meetings like this one make me so happy because we wouldn't have been having this conversation 5 years ago, and we're having it now. And I just want to wish you the very best in your conference. I really look forward to see what the outcomes of your of your collaborative focus will be. I'm hoping that maybe we can steal some of your great ideas as we design our own strategy. And I really hope that when our strategy is ready in June to launch, that I'm hoping that you'll invite me back so I can share with you some of the progress that we're making in the federal public service and in the government of Canada. And again, I thank you all for your participation. You're doing fabulous work, and you're doing it in the best possible way. So congratulations to you all, and thank you again, and I look forward to hearing the results. Miigwech.